Alex Delsohn, everybody. So incredibly funny. How long have you been doing comedy for?
About 2.5 years, so I'm a baby.
A baby comedian?
Yeah.
You're the handsomest baby I ever did see. Oh my God. Lord T. Well, that's very cool. And so obviously you use a lot of your real life experience in your material.
Yeah, all that stuff is real, really happened.
Really happened.
Really happened.
The good, the bad, the ugly. So the Catholic school part, that was real?
Yes, I really did go to an all-girls Catholic school in California for 6 years.
Whoa, what was that like?
I'd say negative. Largely negative. As one would anticipate. But, I made it out. I'm here today to make y'all laugh and stuff. So.
Yeah. So it was negative. Why? Were there nuns beating you? What? I was only imagine things.
Yeah. Well, I came out as a lesbian in the 10th grade, and I apparently was the first person to ever come out as a lesbian in the history of that school. So it's kind of a loaded coming out experience. And like some people were okay, most people weren't that into it. It's pretty religious environment, a lot of homophobia. I didn't have any like gay people in my family that I knew about. My parents weren't like exactly like super supportive, so it's a rough time, I'd say. Not a good mental health time for me. Yeah, I'd say that's mainly why.
Were there any supportive people in your life or in the school?
Not like adults. I quickly got a girlfriend, which was cool.
Was she straight?
No.
Oh, plot twist.
No.
Okay.
But for the first 5 years that I was out, every girl I dated basically was she was straight, and then we dated, and then she was like, well, I guess I'm not straight. Or I would just full on have things with straight girls, which I don't recommend. You didn't get that from my set.
Well, who in the audience has dated a straight person before? Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah, we feel for all of y'all.
Yeah, it's bad. I don't think it's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah. So what would that conversation be like then? It's like if someone, let's say a straight girl, and they had never had that experience before, talked to a queer person in general, were they open? Were they interested? What go down?
Yeah, I mean, I've had people who have they were straight when we started dating and would say stuff like, oh, well, I don't know, I'm just, my name used to be Emma. I'm just Emma-sexual, is what one of them said. And then there were I had one girlfriend that was really insistent on that she was straight, and that's her identity, whatever. But I hadn't transitioned. I was out as a lesbian at that time, so it was kind of confusing. I think it was a confusing thing, but it was a good learning experience because now I just I have a rule that I do not date anyone that's closeted or straight because I don't think it's healthy for me where I'm at in my life. So.
Yes. Yeah. Love that for you. So in this really homophobic, as you described it, Catholic school environment, what helped? What got you through that? Because obviously it must have been really hard.
I would say the internet. I watched a lot of the L word.
Educational.
That wasn't helpful. I don't know why I said that was helpful. I don't know. But just, I knew that I was going to, move to a city. The school was in Thousand Oaks, California, which is this really conservative suburb of Los Angeles. But I knew that I was going to move either through college or some other way to a city that was more progressive, and that's why I picked Seattle. I went to Seattle University and had a really good time there. So just knowing that, through the internet and sensing that not everybody was a straight or a nun, that it was going to be okay, ultimately.
Yeah, totally. Where was your first concept of being queer? How did you even know what a lesbian was? Or I know it wasn't that long ago, but things have changed a lot in 10+ years.
Yeah, well, I remember the first time I thought, oh, you're a lesbian. Because I didn't realize I was trans until a lot later, until I was in college. But I realized I liked girls really early, and I was in 7th grade, and I had only heard my aunts and uncles kind of like talk shit about gay people. So I was like, oh, okay, like I'm this thing that's like bad. So I was like really, like when I was in the closet, I just felt really like awful about it. And I only had like negative representation. And then it got a little bit better. Like I feel like when I was in high school and I was like out, I was like way happier when I came out. Like I got a girlfriend and that was like the coolest thing in the world to me. I was really into Glee at that time. These are like the worst. Things are better now. Like I was like, at that time Glee was like,
that was the tea. I was a Glee girl too.
Oh, I'm embarrassed that I said that.
No, don't. I relate that so hard. So in this Catholic school, were there nuns? First?
There were nuns.
They were nuns. And who taught was there sex ed?
No, there was like a sex ed, but it was abstinence. So like I don't remember learning anything about sexual organs or like sexuality in general. And like my parents didn't have to talk with me, so I was just like, I don't know. I guess it exists, but yeah, so it was just abstinence. And I also like, there was no acknowledgement of like, in school, like, of like gay or trans people like existing. Like I didn't know of any like gay adults except for like Ellen. Like a mythical beast at that point. So yeah, I really wish like, and I really didn't know I was trans until a lot later, until I like really could have conversations with like multiple people like my age and older. That was really helpful for me in figuring out I was trans. And I think if I had had those resources at an earlier age, that I would have like probably transitioned sooner, or just like, you know, some things like around working through like dysphoria and stuff would have been a lot easier. So
more education, more information about gender. So fast forward from Catholic school to, as you went to SU, you said, Seattle University.
Yes.
And so you're in Seattle, you're in your young adulthood, and you're coming into your gender more. What was that process like? How was going from you just self-identified as a lesbian, and then somehow your gender was evolving, right?
Yeah, I was like pretty butch, masked lesbian, and I didn't really know. Like I had kind of heard. I had really only heard the narrative of like man trapped in woman's body, and that like felt really like extreme and like narrow to me, and that didn't really make sense to me. So I didn't know that I like had dysphoria, and I was like, well, I don't really like being a woman, but like I don't know. And then it really like clicked for me the first time someone asked me what my pronouns were, because nobody had ever asked me that in my senior year of college. So it was pretty late. And I was just like, oh, I actually like don't like being called she. And I like didn't even realize I like could change that. So once I like realized that I didn't have to do any of the girl stuff, I just stopped doing it. And that was great. Yeah, and it was hard at first. I originally like just like socially transitioned, and I like started wearing like men's clothing and like cut my hair and stuff, and that was a really big thing. And it was hard. Like the first year I was out socially, and I hadn't started testosterone yet, was difficult. I really got like a lot of pushback from like cis queers. Like cis queers were like the worst to me, and I think it was kind of like a thing of like feeling threatened or something, or like feeling like, well, I also have like weird gender things, but I'm not transitioning, you know? So that was weird and kind of unexpected. But once I kind of like spent some time and like really thought about what I wanted from like gender and like kind of parsed out, you know, you don't have to like do everything in like an FDM transition. You can just do some things, or you can do like others if you don't want, like whatever. Then it kind of all fell into place. And once I started T, like, my life just like rocketed into like so much better than like I ever could have imagined, which is kind of where I am now. So
yeah, you're doing so well. You are booked and busy comedian. You are married.
I am married. I got married in August.
Yes. And you are just a really incredible human. Where can anyone find you if they're looking for you next?
I have a website, maxdelsohn.com. My handles on things are @FakeJewishBoy.
Fake Jewish boy. You heard it here first. Awesome. Everyone give it for Max Delsohn one more time. Thank you.